So we have brought together a panel of experts to answer the most searched questions for back to school. I'm joined by NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar, Katie Hurley, a child and adolescent psychotherapist, and Kurt Russell, the country's 2022 Teacher of the Year. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dylan.
Okay, so some of the top questions, obviously, Dr. Natalie, we'll start with you, involve COVID. So what's the latest guidelines? What can parents expect when they send their kids back to school?
You know, Dylan, I think the number one thing that parents should kind of be aware of going into the school year is what are your school's policies and what is their mechanism for communicating to you? I think we all can remember getting emails from the superintendent and this is our policy and we're following CDC guidance, but maybe we're modifying it a little bit. So I think going into the school year, it's important, especially as a working parent, for childcare and things like that, to know what your school's policy is regarding, you know, isolation and quarantine. Every child now, 6 months and older, is eligible for vaccination. So, you know, most schools obviously are not mandating that, but if your child is above the age of 6 months, they can certainly be vaccinated. And I think then the big question is about boosters. Pretty easy to remember if you think of the number 5. Everyone over the age of 5 is eligible for their first booster if you had the original, you know, 2-series mRNA about 5 months after you completed that. In terms of a second booster, if you're over the age of 12 and with an immunocompromising condition, or you're over the age of 50, you are technically eligible for a second booster. A lot of parents are wondering right now about whether or not they're going to get the new bivalent vaccine, right? That's going to have the original Omicron strain, or the original strain, I should say, plus Omicron. At this point, we have no information that children are going to be eligible for that updated vaccine. So kids, if you haven't been vaccinated at all, you're still going with the original series and you're boosting with the original. Okay,
but every school is different, so make sure you need to know what your school's
policies are. Yeah, so you're not, you know, caught off guard.
Okay. Katie, there's a lot of anxiety going back to school. Some kids haven't been in a classroom setting all that long. I'm sending my son to first grade for the first time in a whole new school. So there is a lot of anxiety for parents and for kids. So how can we ease it for everybody in the family?
Well, I think the first thing, Dylan, is really just talking about it and being really open about it, because a lot of kids, from the little ones up through the college students, are just experiencing a wide variety of anxiety and stressors. So just really saying, it's okay if you feel a little bit worried. I feel a little bit worried too. What can we do about that? You know, so one thing I talk about with little kids is creating worry boxes where they can just kind of decorate a little box and then stick their worries in day by day, one by one. It's just a way of getting it out and really talking about it with a grown-up or someone else in the family. With older kids, I like to talk about doing zones of control. So, you know, worries, I always say anxiety lives in the past, the woulda, coulda, shoulda, or in the future, the what ifs. So if we can all remain sort of present in what we're doing today, and we can say, what's within my zone of control today? Today I can pack my backpack, I can get my new school supplies, you know, I can cuddle with a grown-up, I can read a book with a grown-up, just things like that. Just sometimes just these everyday sort of strategies really help kids feel calm. And, you know, always when parents or grown-ups in the home are showing a sense of calm, that helps kids see that, okay, it's okay to feel worried, but I can do this.
And it's okay for parents to express their worry to their kids also, within reason, I'm assuming?
Within reason, yes. I mean, we don't want to put all of our, you know, global worries onto our kids, right? But it's okay to normalize it and say, yeah, I feel worried sometimes too. And you know what I do? I like to take a walk, or I like to just sit and pet the dog while I look at a magazine, or whatever you like to do. The more open we are about it, the more kids learn that, okay, it's okay to have all these different emotions, and I can figure out a way to get through that, whether it's coloring or, you know, listening to music or getting outside.
Okay. And Kurt, let's bring you in here because you are the 2022 Teacher of the Year. So parents have that back to school night. They get the first chance to talk to their kids' teachers. What should they be asking? What should they learn from that meeting?
Dylan, that's a great question. And similar to parents, teachers are nervous as well, right? And so I had to talk to myself. So parents should just be a cheerleader for their children. You can do this. Let me encourage you. What you are going to expect within the classroom is this and that. And so I think we have to be honest with our children as they go through school and making sure that they are comfortable enough, making sure that they know their classes, right? Make sure that they know the bus stops. So take that anxiety off of them, as Katie mentioned earlier. It makes things more smoother, makes things more accurate for our children as they go through school.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to get to each one of you a tip that you have. Kurt, let's start with you.
Be a cheerleader.
Okay.
That's the most important thing, being an encourager for parents, for their children.
Okay. Katie?
Be a good listener. I always say follow the 80-20 rule. Listen 80%, talk 20.
Oh, that's good. And Dr. Natalie?
I wish I could say it's just COVID that we have to worry about, but parents out there, one of the biggest unintended consequences of the pandemic was missing childhood vaccinations. We already are seeing a lot of flu in the southern hemisphere this year, so flu is going to be a big deal for your kids this year. Polio vaccine, right? That's in the news. Make sure your kids are up to date on all of their childhood vaccinations.
So get back to the doctor.
Get back to
I
the
know we
doctor.
all kind of skipped that for a little while there. Dr. Natalie, Katie, Kurt, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for that great advice.